Today I'll be continuing my complete overhaul of the visuals of A Farmer's Life and ensuring that everything fits nice and neatly into the game's progression path. Hey, Hannah Mouse1 here. If you don't know me, I am an aspiring game developer working to prove that professional quality games can be made in even the most beginner-friendly software such as Scratch. My main project, A Farmer's Life, is a top-down 2D farming simulator game inspired by Stardew Valley, and if you've been following this series so far, you'll know that I'm currently undertaking a complete visual overhaul of the game and ensuring that everything is nice and refined as I do. Today we'll be continuing that process with 3 more locations. Starting with the request board, this is one of the older features in the game and it's actually really well balanced, so all it needed was a visual makeover. I expanded it out to fill the whole screen now that I've removed the big brown border that goes around the edge, and I've recolored everything to match the new palette. Since the bottom portion of the screen does need to be free to display mouse over information, I just filled that space with cobbles and bushes, and all the written information is now displayed using the text manager sprite, which helps cut down the unnecessary assets. Next up was the first unlockable location, the barn. Polishing this off was a mammoth task. I began by redoing the background for the shop space, and I did this by expanding the pile of sacks at the bottom to better fill the space. The most time-consuming part was definitely recoloring the wood grain texture in the background. With the new palette, everything was more saturated before, but I think it turned out pretty sweet. I also redrew the shopkeeper, the sweet old lady Bridget. Reworking characters in the new palette is definitely the hardest part for me, especially choosing the right skin tones. That said, I do think the new version came out decently, and even if these few specific assets did look better in isolation in the old style, I think overall the game does benefit for everything being nice and consistent. I animated Bridget to blink and occasionally had her adjust her glasses, giving her a bit more life, and I gave her a drop shadow to help her stand out from the background. I then updated all the UI elements for the barn, bringing the speech bubbles and buttons for the shop and barn into line with the new style and colours. The inventory item sprite now displays the shop items, replacing the older method of using separate costumes within the barn sprite. This helps reduce asset clutter. For the barn specifically, I added the tools you can buy into the inventory item sprite as well. Since tools aren't treated as items in the game, I also made sure that when these are mouse over, the text manager displays a description of what they do instead of showing how many you have in the inventory. Redoing the background for the animals page took up the bulk of my time. It has twice the wood paneling that the shop page has, and drawing it all took forever. I also recolored and expanded the hay bales and added a patchy floor texture. The animals themselves got a recolor to match the new palette, but I didn't redesign them. I added dark outlines and shadows to make them pop and feel grounded. I also revamped the feed the animals page using the inventory item sprite to display the different feed types, again helping to reduce excess assets. With that finished, I moved on to the fishing hut, starting with the shop page background. I kept the layout mostly the same, but I recolored everything to fit the new palette. To fill some of the empty space, I added fishing nets and a newspaper cutout to tie into the story update I'm planning soon. For Felix, the shopkeeper, I really leaned into his energetic, childlike personality by having him sit up on the counter, swinging his legs back and forth, which I absolutely love. I set up all the quotes and UI just like I did for the barn, but using the fishing hut's blue colour scheme instead of the barn's red. The shop was again set up using the inventory item sprite. I also created the artwork for the river scene, where you select a net. This involves duplicating the new animated water tiles from the farm for each frame. I recolored the nets in all their different positions and gave them dark outlines to help them stand out. Finally, I redid the net page where players can refill bait or collect caught fish. Removing the old screen border really improved the layout here, as now there's enough space to show full-sized icon for each bait and fish. This allowed me to keep everything within the inventory item sprite and removes the need to draw smaller versions of items, which is super helpful for future content updates. I also increased the bait's capacity for nets. I also increased the net's bait capacity, since previously the higher level baits could entirely fill a net in one go, which did feel a bit clunky. But that's all I got done this week, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe if you did, it lets me know that there's something to see more of. Join the Discord or check out the latest build of the game, both linked down below, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye!